Have you ever wondered where the word love comes from? This is the English version of this video. I also have a bilingual version in Russian and English for the people who are learning the Russian language. My name is Katya, my last name is Zaitseva. I'm a professional teacher of Russian as a foreign language. Let's begin. Here is an interesting fact. The English word love and the Russian word любовь are actually close relatives. A long time ago, there was an ancient language called Proto-Indo-European language, and there was a root that sounded something like любовь. It meant to desire or to be attached. Then, when the Germanic languages appeared, this root transformed into lubo, and it already sounds a little bit like Russian любовь, right? Later, in an Old English, lubo became lufu, and from that form, it transformed into love as we know it. I mean, in modern English. And in the Slavic languages, we use the same ancient root lyub. It acquired the form of lyub, like in the Russian word любовь, the feeling, or любить, the verb to love, любимый, the loved one. So the English word love and the Russian word любовь are not just similar by chance, they really are related. And by the way, we also find the same root in the Romance languages like Spanish or Latin. Let's remember the word libido. And it makes total sense if we remember that любовь also meant to desire. But then there is a question, why do Spanish speakers say amor and French speakers say amour? The answer is they used another root from the same Proto-Indo-European language. The word amor comes from a very ancient sound, ma or ama, and that's the way a small child calls their mother. So in Spanish, the word amor is related to the word mama, the mother. So it is also love, but a different type. Love is protection or care. Now let's look at another example. Is the English word to live, the Spanish word vivir, and the Russian word жить related? What do you think? The word to live has a completely different story. Let's go back again to the Proto-Indo-European language. The ancient root to live was guay. In Latin, this root acquired the form of vivre. So we have in Spanish vivir, in French it's vivre. In the Slavic languages, this root changed into živ. We say живой, which means alive, or я живу, I live. Then where does the English verb to live come from? Interestingly, it's not related to guay, according to the linguists. It comes from a different ancient root, leip, also from the Proto-Indo-European language. Leip meant to stay, to remain, so in English it became to stay alive basically. And it also meant to stick. And today we find it in Russian too, but in a totally different context. In Russian we have the verb lipnуть, which means to stick. The Russian lipnуть and the English verb to live look so different and mean such different things, but turns out they're actually related. They share the same idea, staying, remaining, not disappearing. And another crazy linguistic fact, in the Romance languages we find this root too. We find it in the word lipids, because the fat naturally sticks to other tissues in the body. Now, I think a logical question would be, are there any words that are related in all the three types of languages, the Germanic, the Slavic, and the Romance languages? Of course there are. Tons of them actually. And let's have a look at one of those. Let's take the English word to know, the Russian word знать, and the Spanish word conocer. At first glance, they look completely unrelated. They have different sounds and different forms. But in fact, they all come from the same ancient root, the Proto-Indo-European root gneh. It meant to know or recognize. In Latin, this root is found in the word gnoscere, to know, which later transformed into cognoscere. It is widely found in the modern Romance languages. For instance, in Spanish, it is conocer. In the Germanic languages, the same root, gneh, turned into the root kniana. I have no idea how to pronounce it correctly. And from there, we get the modern English word to know. And the silent letter K here reminds us of its origin. And in Russian, this root changed slightly more. It transformed into zna, like in the verb znать, to know. So here's a final thought to close this story. When we start learning a new language, it often feels like we are entering a totally different world, absolutely unfamiliar. But the deeper we go, the more clear it becomes. What seems unfamiliar on the surface results to be familiar in its essence. Because our languages share the same cradle, the same origin, just like we do. And to finish, one last question. Would you like to trace the origin of any word in English or Russian or Spanish? Leave it in the comment and I will cover this topic in one of my next episodes. If you enjoy this kind of stories, remember to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.